Steven Universe is a show that has never shied away from subtext. Throughout the show's 5 or 7, according to Amazon, seasons, it has depicted a wide range of challenging topics, from abusive relationships and trauma, seen with Lapis Lazuli, the struggle to find purpose and deal with loss in Pearl's story, to self-acceptance and the possibility for redemption within the arcs of various characters. Some of these themes pop up more explicitly than others. Steven Universe is also a particularly intertextual show, incorporating influences and references to other works, animated or otherwise, that have inspired the team behind the show. At the end of the episode The Test, for example, Steven overcomes a series of obstacles planned by the Gems, and as they greet him at the end, they all face the camera one by one, clapping to congratulate him.
Congratulations!
Congratulations, Steven!
Yeah! Congrats, little man!
This mirrors a similar scene at the end of the anime Neon Genesis Evangelion.
Congratulations! Congratulations! Congratulations!
Congratulations!
Congratulations.
Congratulations!
Congratulations!
Congratulations.
There are many other examples of the creative team paying tribute to important works and showing their willingness to engage with ideas outside of the text itself. It's no surprise then, given the show's track record, that Steven Universe the movie is also filled with metaphorical meaning and textual richness. Connie's Lion Slide, an homage to the famous bike slide in Akira, is one great instance of this intertextual relation. Many online have already brought up some of the deep themes tackled in the movie, discussing questions like, what does it mean to be happy? Is personal growth ever really done? Is Spinel codependent or representative of some mental illness? What is it that makes us who we really are, and is it okay to not be okay sometimes? I think these discussions are worthwhile and meaningful, and have contributed to what makes the show such a long-lasting standout in its field. The topic I want to cover here is a little different though. I'm not here to review the movie or say Spinel bad or Spinel good, though for the record I liked the movie. The questions posed earlier largely cover theme and meaning, but I want to talk about symbolism. What does Spinel represent? What is the nature of her conflict and its relation to the real world? One possible reading of this text, though there are a ton of possible readings, can help answer some of these questions. Spinel, I think, represents the Disney Corporation, its effects on the industry, and the danger of one voice monopolizing entertainment. This is evident in her throwback animation style, her domineering personality, and the flattening efforts she makes throughout the story that mirror Disney's own attitudes and actions. Needless to say, there will be major spoilers for the Steven Universe movie ahead, so if you haven't seen it yet, I highly recommend doing so before continuing. The movie begins with a quick recap of the series so far, and a summary of its new status quo after the events of Change Your Mind, presented as a storybook. This opening and the title credits are the first references to Disney and old animation in general. Spinel, the ostensible villain of the movie, appears soon after, out of nowhere, over Beach City and quickly starts causing trouble.
Whoa, this has got to be a misunderstanding. In case you haven't heard...
The most initially striking thing about Spinel is the way she moves. She's recognizably different from the rest of the cast. Spinel is stretchy and bendy, oddly proportioned with long, thin arms and legs, and visually distinct from the other gems. She emotes dramatically, her face and body contorting to a degree that no other character does.
That's right, I heard the story over and over again. Gee, it's swell to finally meet her other friends.
This resembles a style of animation common in early American cartoons that was dubbed the rubber hose style, as it features limbs that bend along smooth curves with no real points of articulation, much like a hose. This lends a more chaotic, unreal element to the characters animated this way as seen in Fleischer cartoons and, importantly for this essay, early Disney shorts. These shorts featured Steamboat Willie, who, as we know, would go on to become Mickey Mouse, among other early Disney figures who are animated in this same rubber hose style. Another Disney-fied detail of Spinel, her ponytails always face the audience no matter her angle to the camera, much like the ears of a certain cartoon mouse, and unlike the gems. Once she is poofed later by her own scythe, more on this to come, the resemblance to Mickey Mouse is even more pronounced. Her spiky ponytails get tamped down into heart-shaped tufts resembling mouse ears. Her pants round out and her shoulders soften. Her eyes change as well, the irises turning from pink to all black with a single highlight to match the Mickey and Fleischer style. The parallels between her design and the designs of early cartoons, including those from Disney, are intentional and carry ironic meaning. As Steven Universe creator Rebecca Sugar notes in an interview with Nick Romano at Entertainment Weekly, as an animator, I have a really complicated relationship with old cartoons. I love history, but I really don't like nostalgia, and so it makes me want to use these ideas to talk about what they are and what they mean to me. Rather than embrace nostalgia for these old cartoons, the movie recontextualizes this retro design and uses it as a visual metaphor. This repurposing, giving innocent features to a malicious character, hints at how old ideas and old tropes, some still championed by Disney today, can be negative and harmful. She's outdated, Sugar continues. She knows that, and it hurts her. Spinell feels outdated, just as Disney treats traditional animation as outdated, given their abundance of live-action remakes and 3D animation.
I missed him! I'm gonna get one of those vultures one day! I'm gonna get one!
I don't know why it's so important to you.
Disney's last traditional animated film, which I was going to say was Princess and the Frog in 2009, was actually a Winnie the Pooh animated musical that I didn't know existed until right now, which came out in 2011.
Woo-hoo-hoo! A simple hello would do. Thank you very much.
And there are seemingly no 2D projects slated for their future. Spinell's personality is also central to her existence as a metaphorical stand-in for Disney. Created by the other Diamonds as a friend and playmate for Pink Diamond, her primary purpose is to entertain and, for those at the top, distract Pink. Both before her abandonment and after she loses her memories, Spinell is constantly trying to amuse those around her.
She'll bring you endless entertainment. Your new best friend, Spinell.
She is always doing slapstick routines, telling jokes, making silly noises, and playing games with the cast, even when they don't necessarily want her around. Initially, she seems innocent enough, like she's just trying to bring joy to others, but this outward innocence belies a toxic personality. Similarly, Disney at first glance, and apparently the only allowable glance according to the "don't spoil our fun, it's just a movie" crowd, seems to want the same. They are here to entertain, no guile, no tricks, just clean fun. But this elides that Disney is a massive corporation, and a corporation's only real purpose under a capitalist system is to make money. All of it, if possible. They both may put up a facade of innocent fun, but the underlying motivations and goals are anything but innocent. Spinell's facade, much like Disney's, eventually wears thin. Spinell seems like a happy-go-lucky jester after her reboot, but she quickly burdens Steven as she continually distracts him while he tries to disable her ship/injector. When Steven tries to leave her for even a minute, she becomes angry and jealous. Anything that takes away attention from Spinell is bad. All others in the outside world for her are competitors for Pink Diamond's attention that need to be dealt with. Spinell wants to capture the entirety of Pink's attention or destroy everything outside of it if she can't have it. Disney, like Spinell, wants to have everything, and it seems to be working pretty well according to Box Office Mojo. After Disney's merger with Fox, 4 out of 5 of the highest-grossing films worldwide, that is unadjusted for inflation, are owned or produced by Disney, and domestically, Disney takes the entire top 5. Any other media that Disney sees as a competitor for audiences' limited mental bandwidth, it will buy out or destroy, as was the case with Fox, which we will come back to again later. Likewise, when Steven's attention is on anyone but Spinell, she charges in, whether by piling on uninvited to a hug, or by injecting literal poison into Beach City to ensure that everyone who she feels stole Pink Diamond's attention away will die. Spinell is ubiquitous, and even if they could get rid of her, they need her to help turn off the ship. Spinell, like the other Diamonds before her, also functions as an imperialist figure. She appears unannounced in another land, a member of a colonial force, the Diamonds refer to Earth as a literal colony, seeking to dominate or destroy its people. While her motivations differ from the other gem colonizers before her, the outcome of her actions remain the same. Just like the Cluster, she could cause the death of all of humanity. Disney also engages in forms of imperialism, whether through its didactic and pro-capitalist comics released in South America throughout the 70s, or in its more ethereal cultural imperialist context today, specifically through its Marvel Cinematic Universe films.
We are going to win this war because we have the best men. And because they're going to get better.
As Siddhant Adlakha notes in his vital series Road to Endgame for Slash Film, several Marvel films have been partially funded by the Department of Defense, which comes with certain strings attached. He writes on Iron Man, a production assistance agreement from the Pentagon locks a film into a military-approved version of its script. This is not entirely uncommon for American productions, as he continues, Iron Man wasn't the only Marvel film to receive military assistance either. Iron Man 2, Captain America the Winter Soldier, and Captain Marvel, films with their own issues with how they represent military politics, were also made with military input. Given these circumstances, Siddhant asks, is Iron Man military propaganda? He answers, in short, yes. It's designed with direct influence of the US government and paints a skewed narrative of American foreign policy, one in which the US military neither causes nor exacerbates any of the destruction seen in the film. These movies serve not just to bolster American support for the US military and its interventionism, but also attempt to influence Disney's massive worldwide audiences of much the same. That is, that the US is good, that its actions are fundamentally good, that its values are the right values, and that we are just trying to do what's right, just like Tony Stark. Spinell and Disney seek to export their feelings and ideals onto others, but what happens to those around them? When Spinell arrives on Earth, she immediately begins poisoning the area around her ship as revenge for siphoning so much of Pink Diamond's attention. When the gems try to stop her, they're poofed and return to their default states upon creation. That is to say, they are rebooted.
How do you do, my Greg universe? Thank you for bringing me into the world.
The gems are separated from their own histories and become detached, entirely different from the characters we've come to know. This rebooting should sound familiar to anyone with a passing knowledge of movies over the last 20-ish years. Disney is not alone in acquiring and rebooting characters and franchises, but as one of the biggest media producers in the world, they sure do it a lot.
Nice job, kid. Thanks. Well, I could have stuck the landing a little better. It's just a new suit.
Often, these rebooted characters, when incorporated for instance into the MCU, must fit a predetermined aesthetic and narrative structure, to the point that many fight scenes and other big set pieces are completed even before a director signs on. Nothing is allowed to be too adventurous or too different. This leads many of the movies to feel factory standard, safe, lifeless, just like the rebooted gems. Not only does Disney retool and reboot characters, they also restructure many of their acquisitions, essentially firing much of the staff and transforming the former studios into something different. Spinell, like Disney, doesn't just want to control those she directly interacts with. She wants to poison the entire Earth as collateral, just as Disney wants to control the entire entertainment marketplace. Disney already has an outsized influence on the industry. According to Eric Schwartzel, who wrote about Disney's conditions for screening The Last Jedi for the Wall Street Journal, they're unprecedented in their scope. They're going to receive 65% of all ticket sales on this next Star Wars movie. They also can require theaters to hold the theater for 4 weeks. So that means this new Star Wars movie will show in the biggest auditorium at any theater for a minimum of a month, even if on day 28, everybody who's going to see it has seen it, and they're playing to an empty house. And that's a real problem if you only have one auditorium in your whole theater. For any small theater, this could result in a massive loss of revenue, so many are just refusing to show it. Even larger theater chains have to commit to these conditions, and in order to turn a profit, will often have multiple screenings with multiple showings of the biggest films, i.e. Disney movies, all at once. Any other film that opens within the first month of a new Disney movie launch might as well not even exist to these chains. The smaller film will be pushed aside for the Avengers, so it will likely make them very little in its wake, giving them further incentive to ignore these small movies in the future, and so on. Disney's Fox merger doesn't just let the X-Men join the MCU so Disney can poof and reboot them, although getting the X-Men away from Bryan Singer by any means is a plus in my book. It also means Disney now controls Fox's entire back catalog and most distribution rights. According to Ryan Faudner at the Los Angeles Times, Disney has long placed tight restrictions on when and how cinemas can screen its older titles. Disney's long-standing policy is to not allow first-run theaters or commercial discount cinemas to screen movies from its library, whether it's an animated classic such as Lady and the Tramp or a more adult-oriented film such as The Sixth Sense. This will now include all of the movies that were previously held by Fox, like Fight Club, Die Hard, and the perennial favorite Rocky Horror Picture Show. Any theater that tries to get permission to screen these older movies will likely either be denied or possibly given a more stringent deal than before. In this same article, it's mentioned that some small theaters had already sold tickets to showings of films previously held by Fox and upon the buyout were not sent the film. This allows Disney to have a tighter hold on what can and can't be shown in theaters and gives their upcoming streaming service, which will incidentally house many of these movies, more leverage in the market. Spinell and Disney do differ in terms of their backstories and openness to change, however. Disney has been an entertainment juggernaut for decades and is only growing stronger, more demanding, while Spinell was abandoned by someone she cared about for 6,000 years, which, how long has it been since Disney put out animated movies regularly? It feels like about that long. Traditional animation has largely been abandoned by mainstream studios for a variety of reasons, including time, cost, skill required to make it, and a feeling that it's falling out of favor. I would strongly contend with that last point, though box offices may differ. Spinell feels abandoned and confused, but also realizes that what she's doing is wrong.
You actually liked me, didn't you? What am I doing? Why do I want to hurt you so bad? I'm supposed to be a friend. I just want to be a friend.
This is something that will not happen internally at Disney. This divergence is partly a result of the nature of the show itself, which sees nothing as black and white and always holds out hope for redemption and healing, even for its biggest villains. A strength of the show is that even when it's sometimes unrealistic, it still holds on to that optimism. It wouldn't really fit the tone of the show to have a ruthless imperialist come out of nowhere and have no redemption arc, no internal conflict, and no sympathetic backstory. Mayor Dewey, the Diamonds, and others are all given shots at becoming better people. This is also partly a result of taking a corporation and making it metaphorically into a person. The two are fundamentally different despite a certain court ruling, and even metaphor and allegory have their limits, especially in a show largely aimed at children. Even still, the only way Steven and the Gems are able to stop Spinell is by rediscovering themselves, their flaws, messiness, trauma, and all, asserting what is unique about them and what's unique about the show and the medium itself that can't be easily replicated or assimilated.
I can make a promise. I can make a plan. I can make a difference.
Spinell, in the end, destroys her own ship while trying to fight Steven, and is only really dealt with when a group of powerful gems, all former government officials, how about that, take on responsibility to supervise her.
Come live with us in the palace. There's a room waiting for you.
An important note on personal growth that Rebecca Sugar makes in an interview with TV Line's Andy Swift reads, "I really want people to take away the idea that it's okay to be a work in progress. You really need to want to feel better, and this is what gives us hope that Spinell can change her ways. She really doesn't want to keep doing this, to keep feeling this way. That's really difficult to do," Sugar continues. "No matter how much you want to help somebody, you can't make them want that." Fortunately for Steven and the rest of the Gems, Spinell does want to change somewhere deep down, and she helps them stop the injector. Unfortunately for those of us left in the real world, facing down an ever-expanding pool of metaphorical poison deep down, Disney doesn't.
I'll love again. I've already found someone.
Just let us adore.